We are live on Edge Radio Australia. It's time for this amazing show, mate. Look, I'll tell you right now, you come in each week and you are educating me every single time. Now, what would the show be called?
Well, today, young Aaron,
Young.
it's
Okay, I'll take that.
all about a subject that many people are not that impressed about,
Oh, okay.
and it's around about how you go about claiming for life insurance claims.
Okay, this can be a really tough thing. A really, really tough thing indeed.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a tough one.
All right. Okay. Now, yourself, you've been in the game a long, long time.
Mhm.
You've hooked up a lot of people with a lot of. I mean, obviously, this is not a financial advice show. This is
Sure.
this is about linking people together, right?
Yep.
So, essentially, your services you bring people to the right connections for whatever their issue happens to be. Correct?
Sure.
All right.
Absolutely spot on. We're
So-
no longer advisors.
Yep.
We're specialists at being non-specialists.
All right. So, okay, as Wealth by Design, okay, that's the name of the show, and very much obviously your business. This is some of wealth, like we've said before in shows past. Some of wealth is actually saving money,
Yes.
okay, and also getting money that you're entitled to that people probably don't think that they have access to. So,
Absolutely.
you're going to talk about insurance. I've actually even written. I've got a couple of little questions for you because, during the week people ask questions.
Sure.
So, and I've got a memory like a goldfish. So, sometimes it's good to write these things down. Jumping into today's show, we're going to talk obviously about lump sum compensation claims and that. Do you want to give a little bit of an overview before I jump into the questions?
Yeah,
or-
totally. So it's always good to put a dividing line between what's called general insurance products
Yeah.
and life insurance products.
Okay.
It's not a bad place to start because often it gets confused. So, and it's covered by different areas of legislation as well.
That's important to know.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. So, general insurance, of course, go and get your car insured,
Mhm.
workers' comp insurance,
Sure.
professional indemnity insurance, building insurance, etc., etc. That's the general insurance industry.
Okay. Yep.
None of which we've ever known anything about, other than refer work to general insurance brokers.
Okay.
What we specialised in for over 30 years was
Yep.
the life insurance industry.
All right.
Because we set up a prudential life insurance business sort of back in the late 80s.
Okay. That's
Showing
all
my
I got.
age, mate, showing my age.
Oh, you were a teenager at the time, right? Okay. Yep. Sure. Go with that.
And so, yes, so the man from Prudential, mate, I had a hat like yours.
Oh, but you didn't need the hat. You see, mine's it serves a purpose, and it's not about keeping the sun away. Put it that way.
Yeah. So life insurance products are really very defined. So you have death cover.
Sure.
Die.
Mm-hmm.
Get the death policy certificate.
Yep.
Match it up with a policy. Pay it out.
That's
right?
pretty self-explanatory,
death
pretty easy.
Straightforward,
yeah, okay.
right?
There's always paperwork, right?
Yes. You have a derivation of death cover called critical illness, because if your specialist and your doctor say, look, you're actually not going to live longer than 2 years. It's MND, say.
Okay.
Motor neurons disease.
Yeah.
Common, sadly.
Is it common? Is it?
Yeah.
So you don't
too
hear
many.
that. Right.
We've had 4 in 6 years.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And so, because it's actually not a total and permanent disability claim, it's actually a death claim paid out in advance, and that's quite important because as long as the trustees of the super funds have that written into their rule book, and most of them do now.
Okay.
And your doctor says, "Sadly, you've only got 2 years to live." So you can actually get your death cover paid out in advance.
Okay.
And not a total and permanent disability claim because no tax.
There's the difference.
Yeah.
And that's a big difference.
Big
Let's face it. Okay.
Yeah. So rolling back, you've got death cover with the twist being terminal illness.
Okay.
Always good to have no tax on your death cover payout.
To me, that just seems self-explanatory in the way it should be.
Yeah, but some of the insurance companies will give you, some clients are wrong advised to send them TPD paperwork when they phone up.
Now, we've talked about this before.
No.
Like, it is frightening to me that because you're ringing these people because you want their expertise. Again, this comes back to what you do. And I know I'm harping on it. I know I could sort of go on. But to me, it makes a big deal, okay? Because so many times in life, you just get the wrong advice or you talk to the wrong people. And just having that massively long, a quarter of a century plus industry focus and knowing the good people and the bad people, right? Because every game's got it.
Every game's got it.
Yep.
Yeah, and it does get back to training with some of the frontline staff with the insurance companies. You'll have a girl at the front desk be told by one of my clients that I've only got 2 years to live. And she says, that's okay. I'll send out the TPD paperwork. And the guy goes, oh, okay, then you're the expert.
Yeah.
and they
Yeah,
start
I
filling
would
it out.
take that as gospel.
Goes through halfway through the claim or the full claims process,
Mhm.
and they're not, they haven't reached their preservation age or their retirement age, so they have to apply
Okay.
tax to a total and permanent disability payout.
Wow.
But if it's
And-
death
and-
cover, no problem, no
Right.
tax.
And that age now is
60. Yeah, so you're not, and not to get confused with the pension age. This is the at 60 years of age, as self-funded retiree.
Yep.
If you're not working, you get access to your super,
okay.
any either lump sums or income streams through a pension or whatever.
Right.
So once again, so your life insurance products are death cover,
Sure.
with a twist being terminal illness.
Okay.
Total and permanent disability,
Mhm.
essentially where your doctor and your specialist says, look, based on all the medical evidence, the best of our opinion is that you'll never be able to work ever again.
Wow. Okay.
So total and permanently disabled.
All right.
And and then the other one is income protection insurance.
Mhm.
And the other one is what's called trauma insurance.
Okay.
Okay. So
Okay.
a lot of people so they're all the life insurance products.
All right.
So they're the only we specialize in.
Mhm.
So we've talked about TPD a few times on this show, and
Yeah.
and surprisingly, up to 14% of total and permanently disabled claimants
Yeah.
actually miraculously make a recovery.
Okay.
Especially with mental health. Sometimes with
okay.
mental health, yeah. So we paid out over 550 grand to a senior executive, a female that had been through an enormous amount of trauma,
Right.
drug addiction, suicide attempts, all sorts of things. Definitely qualify for TPD, but with the right training and got the money, and with the right training and support and help and guidance and all the things that you can get access to.
Okay.
Managed a slow recovery, back in the workforce, and now got her own consultancy business.
What a result.
I know.
That's brilliant.
Super exciting.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, okay, we care about people, right? And we can talk about numbers and figures and, money.
Yep.
Money, the old story, doesn't buy happiness. It rents it for a while.
Right up there with oxygen.
Yeah, exactly.
Right up there with oxygen. It's important.
It really is. But I mean, it ultimately is. And especially when you're going through something where it be, trauma-based, mentally or physically or whatever, okay, look, having a financial stability creates options for you. Without those, you don't have the options.
Yes.
And this is why this is so important. And I think so many people are unaware of the insurance protection they have. It could be in their superannuation or.
It's a big point.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot. There's a lot in that. There's over 6 million industry super fund accounts in Australia.
How many?
6 million. Now, that doesn't mean there's 6 million people with them. It could be less because a lot of people have multiple accounts.
That makes sense. Yeah.
But the thing is that many of these people get that insurance cover by default when they sign on with their employer. And because they just sign on, they don't read the paperwork.
Okay.
And there's automatic insurance built into those industry super funds.
Yep.
And so
guilty as charged, never read the paperwork.
They don't read it and it's there. So quite a few of our successful claims are where friends have told these people about us.
Okay.
And they've gone, hey, you should call these guys. You might have a claim. You can't work. You're as crook as a dog. You've broken your back. How can you work again? You've just done a workers' comp claim. And they go, oh, really? And they generally say, how much cover have you got in your super? And most people don't know.
No.
And so that's an education thing for us. We grab all the paperwork.
Okay.
We'll analyze it. We'll report back to them without really, there's no fee associated with any of that early work we do.
So you can, I'm asking a question here, you can actually claim a lump sum compensation claim from your super policy.
Absolutely. Yeah. So
to be absolutely clear.
Yeah, totally. Yep. It's so if I look at the last 3 cases, which we're in the process of finalising now, one is an autoimmune disease.
Okay.
Unable to work again according to a specialist.
Okay.
And so 2 TPD payouts and a backdated corporate income protection policy.
Sure.
Another one was a guy with colitis, a truck driver with colitis.
That can't be
like a disease of the colon. What would why would you think that would work well. The facts are it's an incurable disease.
Right.
You can't fix it.
Okay.
Constant pain. This guy could never drive a truck again.
No way in the world. I mean, look, let's be honest. Exactly, the part of your body you're using is the part of the body that's in really dire straits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then the two before that were MND cases. So they were death cover paid out in advance.
Okay.
Another one was a school teacher down at not far out of Perth.
Okay.
But she was fired from the education department, and because she had a gross. God, I lost my words. I was going to say morbidity, but not morbidity. She was obese. So she had obese to the point where she couldn't even get on the bus.
Wow.
To take the kids, yeah. So very rare for a public servant to be fired.
Incredibly rare.
Yeah, but that happened.
It did happen, okay.
Yeah, and that led to mental health, and there was a payout.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
because I was going to actually ask that question. This is another question that came in. I've got jotted down here that we've actually been asked this actually twofold. Do you have to be bedridden or in a wheelchair to make a claim? Like this is.
Yes, it's a very good question, and so the clarity around that really gets back to the definition of what TPD is, and so if you looked at my mental health people,
sure.
Are they bedridden?
No.
You just got to meet the definition of total and permanently disabled.
All right.
So if you've got a mental health condition, you're out walking around, you've got no problems with your limbs or your body.
Sure.
But you can't do your job because you've got a mental health condition. Or you could be a paraplegic or a quadriplegic, and that means you're perfectly healthy mentally.
Of course.
But you can't do your job because of one of those paralysis issues.
Of course.
So as long as you're specialist, there's always a specialist linked in with your problem.
Okay.
And you've got your normal GP.
Okay.
They both sign off to say you can't do your job because of your mental or physical condition.
Sure.
That's what you need. You need the 2 bits of paper from the 2 medicos.
Would there ever be a situation where they say you can't do your job, but you can do other jobs? Is that?
Yes.
How does that work?
That is it. Okay. So that's called own occupation. So if you have an own occupation TPD,
yes,
almost impossible to have that inside super. It's generally private cover that you've taken out outside super.
Right.
So that would mean you're a property valuer. We had one guy, property valuer, got terrible rheumatoid arthritis. The drugs that he was on for the pain affected his mind, and he couldn't concentrate on these multi-million-dollar valuation contracts, right?
Yeah.
So he just couldn't do the valuations. Okay. He could not concentrate for longer than maybe an hour, and you needed 3 or 4 hours of constant concentration. So that's own occupation.
Yep.
You cannot do your job as a property valuer.
No.
Tick. Now, another definition is any occupation. And if it's any occupation, the doctor's got to say, well, not only can't you do what you were doing, but you also can't do anything else.
Okay. All right.
Any occupation. Okay. And so it depends. That's why we will read the documentation very carefully.
I can imagine.
We'll work out what the definition is.
All right.
We'll identify exactly how that lines up with their past occupation or occupations. And then we'll do a determination before we even get stuck into it as to whether we think it's a valid claim or not.
Sure. Not worth pursuing something that's not going to go anywhere. No way in the world.
Because the great thing about life insurance products is that essentially 98% of claims get paid out. Like, it's massive.
I'm quite blown away by that, to be honest.
It's quite massive.
Everyone's dealt with an insurance company. They can be very awkward to deal with.
Totally.
They seem to be working very hard not to make the claim or pay the claim, rather.
Honestly, it's so true. And people go, I got the fence blew down in the storm. No claim,
Yeah.
The tap blew up and I flooded the house. Sorry, there was a problem. No claim. But the 2% of life insurance policy claimants that are rejected, one is the claim doesn't meet the definition.
Okay.
So you've got to be spot on with that.
Sure.
The other 1% is non-disclosure. So
Right.
people have lied on their original application.
Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
I'm a non-smoker.
Yeah. Okay.
You know,
You're only a pack of
you got
that. Gotcha.
emphysema. Oh, let's just dig into all the medical
Yeah,
records, because as soon as you can't hide, because as soon as you go for a claim, you immediately volunteer your entire Medicare history.
Okay. Well, okay. Now that's a very curious thing. Right, because under national legislation,
Yep.
1988, they actually made that that you have a right to privacy of your medical history.
Yes.
Okay, so where do you sign that away?
You sign it away when you put in the application for a claim.
Right, at the application. Sorry, at the application or the
no, at the application stage.
Really?
Dead right, you do.
Right, so it overrides federal legislation.
Yep, you can't hide from it.
Wow.
You cannot hide from it,
Okay.
and neither should you, because if you could hide from it and you were making false claims,
No, I know, I get it.
then everyone else's premium, legitimate people's premiums, would go through the roof.
And look, that's what happened back in the 70s and 80s when it came to particular claims. There was an industry of making false claims. We all know that. Okay, yes. And what did it do for those minority who were exploiting the system?
Yes,
we're all paying for it still to this day.
And of course, with a new product, and of course the most recent product, which is now about 30 years old, but it's a life insurance product called trauma insurance.
Okay.
And that was actually invented by a guy called Macias Barnard. I
okay.
remember getting this whole story when we set up our Prudential business. And he was the brother of Christian Barnard, the South African guy that was the first open heart surgery.
Oh, I remember him. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And so he was also a cardiologist, Macias Barnard.
Okay.
And he said, look, an innovative, crafty business guy, but a cardiologist. And he said, with the advancement in medical science and pharmaceutical and, just the capacity to keep people living longer and to fix people up, there needs to be another life insurance product.
Okay.
And he invented trauma insurance, and it was quite good because, about 90% of trauma claims are in about 4 categories.
Okay.
So cancer, stroke,
sure,
heart attack bypass surgery, one of the same.
Okay.
And MS, so multiple sclerosis.
Right.
So they're the 4 big ones.
Okay.
90%. And there's about 30 different designated events that trigger a trauma payout lump sum.
Right.
So cancer's an obvious one.
Right. Because I was going to ask you that exactly, like, okay, with trauma, is a lump sum, is that the go-to, or is that the norm?
Well, only if you've got a good advisor.
Okay.
Otherwise, you'd never think of it.
No,
so if you sit down in front of a proper advisor that knows their stuff, investments and risk insurances and cash flow and all things that a really good advisor does, they will educate you on what all these life insurance products are, because dealing with risk is an important part of the advice process.
Of course it is.
And explaining the products is so important. And this trauma one, my biggest trauma payout was prostate cancer, 575 grand.
Okay.
Yeah. Like this guy phoned me up and he said, oh, mate, I've got a problem. Been a financial planning client forever. So what's the problem? He said, well, I've got bloody prostate cancer. And so I've got to go through the whole business and of getting it fixed. And I said, well, we do have that trauma policy. He'd forgotten he'd had it.
Forgot he had it.
Forgotten he'd had it.
There you go.
570 grand.
Yeah. Again, though, think of the advice there. You don't know you've got these things.
It knocked off his mortgage. It paid out all his remaining debt.
Okay.
He was 55, this bloke.
And how much pressure does it take off a person when that mortgage is gone? Okay. I mean, that's a massive, massive thing.
Huge.
When you're sick, okay, especially something as traumatic as that, the last thing you want to be worried about is making that payment every month.
Yeah.
You want to know that your wife and your kids home, if the kids have moved on, whatever. Yep. But you want to know that, that the people you love, they've got security, right?
Well, and there's just so many great stories which is so satisfying. If you've given the advice and they've got the cover in place, and although there's I told you about the property value before, right?
Yes.
It was a real life, because I can just remember a real life case in my head.
And I actually like that. I really want to compliment you on that, because, okay, there's nothing more, it really hits home when you can relate to it. Like when you've been talking about this, I'm in my mind, actually, I'm running through it. Like I'll cut you short for a moment, if I may. Like I'm thinking about a mate of mine who had a catastrophic accident. Okay. He needed his back to be fused, a truck gearbox fell on him
God.
as a heavy duty mechanic. Massive problems, right? And there was a compensation payout after a while, but it's just all the years off work, all the pressure. Now he lost everything because of that. And it put a lot of pressure on him later in life. Not like later, but he kind of lost about probably a dozen years of real genuine productivity, in the peak of your life.
Yes.
So that caused him a long-term effect all the way to, he's now not too far away from retirement, and he hasn't got the nest egg that he needs. He hasn't got the super that he needs because, quite frankly, he took such a thump there.
Very, very disruptive. Yeah.
Yep.
That property developer, he was unbeknown to me. He was coming up to see the doctor. He's got a winery down south.
Okay.
And
what a terrible problem.
Terrible problem. Yeah. And anyway, he phoned me from the car. And his wife was in the car, and I could hear her giggling in the background. I could pick the voices. He said, "Oh, g'day, mate. How you going?" I recognise his number on my phone.
Yep.
Same old story. He said, "Mate, I've got some news for you." I said, "Oh, what's that?" This is a bloke that was on an income protection claim.
Okay.
And we'd already paid out like $600,000 already on income protection. Like he'd been on it for a long time.
Gotcha.
And I said, "What?" He said, "I've just been to the cardiologist." And I said, "Yes, tell me more." He said, "Well, I've got to have a new aortic valve put in." Right. I said, "Oh, really?" I said, "Which one did you go for, the titanium one or the pig one?" Right? And of course, it sounds like a bit of a joke, but that's what you get.
Okay.
If your aortic valve has to be replaced, which is the biggest one at the top of your heart, you either get a titanium one or one from a pig.
As the motorsport man, I'm taking the titanium. Okay, I don't even care if the pig's better. I'm having the titanium.
And so I said, "Which one? Is it titanium or pig?" He said, "I'm going for titanium." I said,
Good boy.
Well, your poor wife will hear you clicking all night because you can hear it. Tick, tick, tick.
I didn't think about that. So the pig one's quieter?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So a bit of a trade-off.
So pigs are wonderful. I mean, not just bacon. I mean, come on, right?
But and I actually, we presented the check to him in our office in Subiaco when he was up. And I blew it out. I blew the check out from Colonial onto a bloody great, like that's do on TV, right?
Yeah. I love that.
And there it was 391,000.
Right.
Like, big money.
Yeah,
absolutely. That was a trauma payout.
That's fantastic. And I'm okay. This is one of the few times in my life I would love to go inside the bank. I want to walk in with that check. I mean, what a moment. Yeah, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
And I mean, okay, that must make you feel brilliant, mate. It really does, because, well, I would think so.
It's extremely satisfying. But now we're sort of
life-changing
not
stuff.
Life insurance agents or financial advisors.
Yes, I understand.
We're now on the other side, which is the claim side, because we can keep that going without being advisors.
Sure.
And so that's sort of very satisfying, because a lot of people would miss the opportunity to put in a claim because they don't know they've even got a policy, or they don't think they've got a claim, or the mental health ones are the worst because they go, "I'm going to beat this. I'm going to beat this. I'm not a claimant."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You go, "Well, actually, we're going to think of this two ways. Make a big difference to you if we could put another 300 or 400 or 500 grand into your bank account. You'd be happy about that, wouldn't you?" Yes. And the other side of the coin is that you still could fit into the "I'm going to recover" category. Oh, really? Yes. So you can.
People need hope.
You've got to have hope. So you hope that you'll get better. But hey, let's use all the evidence that's available to get this claim through, because I reckon it's, say, 60-40 in your favour.
Right.
And we won't know. And we don't charge a fee until the end.
Sure.
Unless it's the money's in the account. So we do all our work up front.
Of course.
It's at no cost. Yeah.
Something I think is important, because I didn't know this until we were talking about it weeks ago now, but the fact that it's not, I want to make this clear, it's not actually a negative thing that you're not a financial advisor anymore. You actually have done that strategically because it's a smart move, because you are now have so much more freedom to do this kind of work. Before you couldn't.
Correct.
Right. So like a lot of people might look and go on face value, "Oh, you're not doing that anymore." I hat off to you, because it was a very, very smart move. I think that this way you can help a lot of people that you couldn't before, and you're not playing within those ridiculously restricted. And those rules, for those who know anyone in the finance industry, are just getting tighter and tighter and tighter. All this know your client, all of that, it's becoming really strict to the point where, yeah, look, I think it jeopardizes a lot of financial advisors' ability to do a good job.
Honestly, yeah, it does. It does. And of course, we sit in a really in a sweet spot
I
because
think so.
we can now do the work that we do and we can get paid for it, which
Yep.
is non-specific advice.
Okay.
But of course, we still refer work to lawyers where someone needs a lawyer, and we pick the right lawyer for the right job, pick the right financial planner for the right. So we refer work to the financial advisors, and so we're not in conflict. We're complementing those specialities.
Absolutely.
So there's no, which is lovely. There's no conflict, and we can all work in a harmonious world.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And that's a big thing as far as conflict. I mean, there is so often with businesses there's a conflict, and therefore, that's a level of restriction again.
Yep.
By doing what you're doing, you I don't know, you basically become a funnel. You know?
yeah, we are a funnel for experts to do what they do, and for us to pick up some of the stuff on the side, which still works.
Okay. Can you give me a couple of examples? I know you already have, but I really like testimonials, I guess.
Yep.
I mean, you were talking about before with the mental health issue, for argument's sake. That is something that I actually deal a lot with because of the work that I do with alienated parents, right? So there's a lot of mental health issues in there, okay, that stem from having your family stolen, okay.
Yes.
And it's funny, people come to me and say, "Can you recommend a lawyer? Can you recommend?" Now, I don't have 25 years plus of that kind of experience, but I still feel there's how do you say, you still want to do the best for people. When it comes to mental health, have you had somebody else that has made a really good turnaround? Like real good news stories.
Totally. I mean, there is. There's been a senior executive in the travel industry.
Okay.
Came good.
Fantastic.
Back in the game.
Yep.
Set up a consultancy business.
Brilliant.
There was actually another one, which was a financial advisor. Funnily enough.
Yeah. Okay.
Like had lost it, got out of the industry. I helped with that process.
Got you.
And they can't get back as financial advisors, but they're doing other part-time work.
Right.
And they have got their medication, still on medication.
Sure.
But they're fine.
But they've got hope and they've got value in themselves.
They've got value. Yeah. And so the school teacher I mentioned before, same story. Right?
Okay.
I got on the weight, got the weight, got a lot of the weight off.
Great.
Which helped. It was just getting specialty support.
Could imagine.
It had the financial support because you got a bloody big payout. And so they can now away from the stressful education industry, which was terribly stressful for a lot of people in the education game, the teaching game.
Well aware of that, actually.
Lots of strife there.
An issue, yeah.
Lots of pressure, lots of kids, lots of parents and administration.
A lot of administration
Silver
pressure
City
these days,
sort of bureaucracy type stuff puts a lot of pressure on teachers. So out of that whole environment and now getting a life back on track.
Okay.
So not everyone, but there's enough success stories that make it.
Well, we want more, right?
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. And if you keep pursuing this, this path, we're going to be able to help a lot more.
There's a lot of them more autoimmune problems popping up.
Wow.
There's and that's just a hard one to work out why, but there's some tough ones coming through, and that impacts on your mental health. Okay. Like if you've got a really shot autoimmune system,
sure,
then you get every cold. This recent claimant of ours has had 2 bouts of COVID.
Okay.
Now essentially a long COVID person.
Right.
Sometimes can't get out of bed till 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
Like it's just crazy. And so crazy bad. And so that plays on your mental health.
Of course it does. Absolutely.
Especially if you've got small children, it's difficult.
Yeah, look, we're not ourselves when we're sick, obviously from a physical point of view, but the emotional side it takes its toll. You get kind of very tired and you become very frustrated by being ill. And I've known a few people with long-term chronic illnesses, and it just changes everything about them. So,
yes.
A question or something that I was talking about earlier today, we had Faye here doing Soul Birth. Now, Soul Birth is a show that we do. It's obviously about the birthing process and the whole well, so many different facets of it.
Mhm.
But today we were talking about something unusual, and we're talking about trauma. Okay, and I
Yep.
think this is obviously very strongly linked. But the trauma for people in the industry, so people who are midwives, nurses. Now, I've known, well, basically, I've got quite a network of friends in the nursing industry. A lot of them have left and felt pushed out, felt very bullied. Now, I'm just
Because of the COVID business
well, yes,
around that period?
absolutely,
Yeah, okay, yep.
absolutely. So with the bullying,
Mhm.
which was very, very severe,
Mhm.
do they have a claim? I mean, that's a broad brush I've just used.
Well, I'll change this guy's name from this to this. Let's
Yep.
call him Trevor.
Good old Trev.
Yeah. Trev worked for a not-for-profit
Okay.
here in Perth, and a senior executive, very switched on, sort of
Okay.
250 grand a year type kind of go.
Okay,
Right?
doing
So
very
well paid, well paid.
Yep.
Exactly what caused his ultimate demise and ill health was bullying.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
So he went through the whole process at work and got a workers' comp claim payout.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
A very well-known, high-profile, not-for-profit organisation in Perth.
Mhm.
And anyway, he was a disaster.
Okay.
He had to leave work.
Right.
He then got prostate cancer.
Oh, wow.
He then got divorced. He then got on the grog and then had to live on his own, and basket case. So a mate of his called me up one day and said, "I've just been talking to Trev.
Yep.
And I reckon he could. I recommend he comes to see you, Jeff."
Okay.
I said, "Yeah, why is that? Does he feel like a beer?"
Yeah.
I said, "No."
The answer is always yes.
Well, he's been drinking far too much
Oh,
beer.
okay.
And that's actually not the reason he should come and see us. So what is it? He said, "Well, he's been through this bloody terrible drama."
Yep.
And he's self-admits to psychiatric hospitals. Has to
Self-admits?
self-admits. Yeah. And so, and he's a mess.
Okay.
He had a pretty significant insurance superannuation fund when he worked for this not-for-profit crowd.
Sure.
I said, yes, he'll probably got some decent life insurance and TPD and probably a salary continuance, which is a corporate income protection policy built in there. And that's exactly the case, Aaron. He was bullied.
Okay.
Mental health, basket case, drugs, drama, stress, hopeless. And so we have done the first part of the claim, got backdated 2.5 years.
Okay.
280 grand.
Fantastic.
Income protection, backdated, right?
Yeah.
So it was 8.5 grand a month, right, for 2 or 3 years to get it up to the number.
Yeah.
Lump sum.
Yeah.
They take the tax out, so you get paid the net amount, because income protection benefits
still says income
are taxable.
Yeah.
The class is assessable income, because you can claim the insurance premium as a tax deduction. So therefore the benefit has to be assessable for income tax purposes. So there you go. There's another one. Bullying.
I appreciate that, because we do get a lot of questions about that sort of thing. Obviously, it's rather prevalent, and really, really strongly prevalent rather in the nursing industry. Really suffer a lot of it. Yeah, there's a lot going through there. So, okay, retrospectively, you're talking about backdating things.
Yep.
What's as far back as you can backdate things?
Well, the furthest we've gone back is about 6 or 7 years from memory.
Right.
Yeah. After the policy's expired too, by the way.
Oh, okay. So, right.
Yeah.
So that could be 10 years previous, or?
Oh, yeah. You can go back as long as you can prove you were working at the time.
Yep.
And you stopped work because of this reason. So you've got to line up all the medical reports. Enormous amount of
would be a lot
collating of past history.
Yep.
It's a big job.
Certainly would.
And then line all that up, and then you can go to the insurance company and go, look, the time he left work, or he had, the policy was in force.
Yep.
The time he left. And this is the reason he left, because of this reason, he or she. Blah, blah, blah. And you can build a case. Sound like lawyers, but we're not.
I know what you're saying.
And so you build a case for it because it's correct. We've had a very recent one where this claimant phoned up the insurance company and they said, "No, what are you talking about? The policy's cancelled. You left. We cancelled the policy."
Sure.
So,
But the injury or the
she left
effect.
because of this condition, all documented.
Mhm.
The employer, all those records are there. The
Mhm.
reason you left it because of this.
Yes.
So in this particular, that was a 5-year income protection benefit, corporate
Okay.
benefit.
Mhm.
So we've gone back for 4 years because we got to identify actually when she got really crook
Sure.
and the policy was in force. And we've got 4 of the 5 years paid out
Okay.
this week. She gets the money in her account probably by Friday. And then the 5th year
Mhm.
is on the drip.
Okay.
X amount every month for one more year.
Great.
Now that'll be a total payout of 385 grand.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was on a cancelled policy. When she phoned the insurance company, they said, go to Buggery.
I bet they did.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's amazing what you can do.
Well, my point would be this is I look at the insurmountable amount of effort and emotional distress you would go through trying to collate all that paperwork, going through it. If you're trying to do it yourself, I mean, I'm not capable of it. I can tell you right now.
It's tough.
Yeah, it is, because again, the emotional attachment, and what happens is you relive the trauma.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
while you're doing the paperwork.
Dead right.
Yeah. And obviously you want to release yourself from this trauma. So by giving it to someone else to look after,
Yep.
to then link everybody together, but to take that away from you, that is a really big benefit. As a person who's dealt with lawyers in the past, more than I would have liked to have, I mean, I find that in my experience that a lot of lawyers have been very, well, basically they make you do all the work.
Yeah.
Okay. And we're very, very lucky here at Edge. We're actually associated with a wonderful legal firm, Amadeus Legal. And the wonderful thing I love about them is like there's a caring nature. Like this is why we took them on, right?
Yep.
Because they truly understood that they didn't want to put people through that trauma, that that they want to make things smooth and run really well and take that away.
Yes.
So to me, that's a very big deal. And as I say, with the other work that I've done, I've seen so many people relive so much pain. This to me is a really important thing for so many levels. The financial stability, the fact of making, building a legacy for your children, if that's the case may be, if you've got illness or whatever the case may be. But yeah, even let's just think about the life you're living right now. If you've got a terminal illness, you want to have the best quality life. You don't want to be just trawling through paperwork and reliving the injury, the trauma, the whatever. So
Yep.
yeah, it's
so true. And you've got,
Hmm.
and it's understand the technical side. So if someone gets $1 million TPD claim, which is the biggest I've seen,
right.
the temptation is to take all the money out of super if the policy, the TPD policy, is actually owned by the super fund. Because
Sorry, mate, can you repeat that for me?
Yeah. So a policy can be owned by you as an individual.
Right.
A policy can be owned by a company. A policy can be owned by a super fund.
Right.
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 So whoever owns the policy gets the money.
Okay.
So in a super fund, the super fund owns the policy on
Mhm.
behalf of the member.
Okay.
So Aaron, the member,
Mhm.
AMP super fund,
Sure.
AMP super fund as trustees own the policy on behalf of you, the member.
Sure.
So the money has to go into the AMP super fund
Mhm.
if it's an AMP policy that's owned by the AMP super fund.
Sure.
So that's important.
All
A
right.
step to understand. But of course, if you're getting close to retirement and you got and you legally can take all that money out of super before your retirement age,
Mhm.
right? So I had one with Alcoa.
Okay.
Like it was $1 million TPD payout, and there was over 490,000 of accumulated cash benefits. So
Right.
like 1.5 million.
Okay.
And the organisation that was organising this claim, it wasn't us, actually encouraged the claimant to take all the money out of super because they're 49 years of age. And they sort of played the lotto card a bit with these claimants. And they said, oh, do you want the lot or you want to leave it in super? Which box do you want to tick? This one or that one? I went, oh, I'd love to hunt a cruise and Sally's car needs getting fixed. And, we need to be gross to do a bit of reno on the house. No problem. Tick. It all comes out of super.
Okay.
That's a problem because you can't get it back into super if you really need to where it should be because you've got caps, right? 30 grand tax deductible.
Yep.
120 non-tax deductible.
Yeah.
It's a big lump of money. You can't get it back in. And that's where it should be because the guy's only 49.
Right. And yeah,
You live,
it's got
you
those
live to
years of
89.
growth. Yep,
He's going
absolutely.
to live to 89,
Yep.
and
Lucky
so you
fella.
go, just because you're broken your back, you're going to die early. And so they're technical things that we have to make sure our clients are aware of.
Okay.
Okay, be careful. Just take out enough maybe to pay your fees and fix the car off. But you need to go and see a financial advisor now,
No doubt about it.
and try and manage this money as best as possible in the best tax concessional environment in super for the long haul, because you're never going to work again.
No.
So, yeah.
I had this conversation with someone yesterday about lotto wins, right? The old everybody wants a lotto win,
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
And although I might have to buy a ticket one day, that might help to actually be in it. But okay, so many people who win lotto blow the money.
Yes.
They end up with a relatively short amount of time, end up bankrupt or struggling.
Yes.
Or whatever. Okay, this is about advice and knowledge and expertise. If you're going to have that at 49, you might think, oh, I've always wanted a Mustang. I don't know, whatever happens to
Dead
be.
right.
Right.
The lotto mentality.
That's the problem.
It is. It's a real issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the great saying, if you could make all the wealth in the world equal amongst all the humans, right?
Sure.
So 7 billion people.
Yep.
And investable assets are about 500 trillion.
Okay.
So divide 7 billion into 500 trillion and you get so much money per individual human.
Sure.
A saying that says if you could wave a magic wand and do that and make all the money equal amongst all humans, it's actually not very long before all the money ends up in the hands of those that had it originally.
5 years, I reckon. I reckon 5 years, and then everybody who was broke before will be broke again.
Yeah.
And that's not a criticism. It's like, okay,
you know, human observation, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, know your skill sets, know what you're good at, and there's a reason why particular people, I mean, there are lots of reasons, it's not that simple, but the people who have great wealth, right, have it because they've got that knowledge, okay, they've got the understanding, and they use the systems to their advantage.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't have that knowledge, you're not going to do it.
No, or you can pay for a bit of it and you'll be right.
Yeah. Well, that's a really good point. Pay for a bit of it. You know what? Yeah. Hook up with the people who are going to give you the advice. And this is the great thing again, the funnel, mate. I really think this is brilliant because look, as I said, people come to me for advice about all sorts of strange things. Don't, okay? You're talking to the guy who's made just about every mistake known to man. But it's very flattering, but I would rather go to people who are very straightforward and say, you know what, I haven't got the information, but I can set you up with a person who has, right?
Yep.
And the trust factor is massive.
Really
is.
Cut through the crap.
Yep.
And get and talk to people that can genuinely help you.
Yeah. Don't get your advice from the end of the bar, right? Okay.
Not the crib room.
No, absolutely
be aware
not.
of crib room gossip.
I hear a lot of that actually. Yeah, a mate of mine is in the Navy. And geez, the financial advice they throw out the Navy.
Barbecue.
Yeah, spot on.
Dangerous area.
Very dangerous. Look, yeah, well, you can burn the food apart from anything else. Come on, it's very dangerous indeed. Hey, mate, thank you very much for coming in today. Really, you've covered some great subject, and thank you for answering those questions from our viewers and listeners. Really appreciate that.
Pleasure, Aaron.
We'll get some more in. I'm quite sure, and we'll go through week after week, and
knock them down.
Yeah, get it exactly right. Now, if I want to get hold of you, how do I do it?
Well, you simply go online and you put in www.wealthbydesign.com.au. That's all one word, wealthbydesign.com.au. Click on the button. You can actually book in a Zoom call. It links with my calendar, and we can have a private chat. More than welcome. No cost or obligation.
Oh, look, well, just as I was about to close up, we get a really nice comment in. Look at that. That someone loves your shirt today. So there you go. Looking very, I'm a bit concerned actually. The amount of shows that we do that we talk about fashion. I mean, what's going on here? We did a financial show yesterday as well.
You've set the standard.
Oh, geez. Yeah, that's why I like to lower the standards. What can I say? But thank you for that. And obviously through the other channels, questions have come in, which I do apologize for not addressing, but I don't have access to at the moment because look, things are going really wonderfully here at Edge. All sorts of new things, new opportunities coming our way, and new systems being put in place right now, which is going to enable us to have more interaction. We can answer questions directly right there on the spot. And, this is what this is about. Look, Edge is very much about community, building this community that people can have a two-way conversation.
I reckon it's a credit to you. It's a great it's a very balanced gig, this, and
Appreciate it.
congratulations to you and your team.
Oh, I've got a great team, mate. So you know what? You are no one without the wonderful people you surround yourself with. So with that,
Fantastic.
all right, end of the show. Down on the bottom there, you will see wealthbydesign.com, .au. That is obviously the address you can catch Jeff and book yourself one of those appointments. I would highly recommend it. And we're going to get out of here. So this is the end of the show. This is Edge Radio Australia. It's Wealth by Design.